Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Let's Face It podcast. This is my journey with Sinead Hegarty. Sinead Hegarty, probably a girl that's known all around the world now at this stage, but a girl from Tyrone at the end of the day, and she's going to discuss her journey with us, good and bad, and how she's, I suppose, made it the very top in both the social media world and in the business world. This podcast is sponsored by McNaughton Guest Rooms. A huge thanks to them, to Sambo, Christy and the lads, and hit them up on www.mcnaughtonguestrooms.com. Have you ever been to Cushendall?
No, I don't know what it is. I'm kind of interested.
Have you ever been to the Glens of Antrim?
No.
Welcome, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, thank you for that really nice introduction. I'm like, oh my God, that's lovely.
Have you ever been to Cushendall? No?
No.
Oh, unbelievable.
What is it like? It's like
it's a place, it's in North Antrim.
Yeah, but like, what do you do there?
It's just like scenery. It's like,
all right. And the guest rooms is like
the guest rooms. So there's a lyric bar, they own the pub down the stairs, and then the guest rooms that just opened them, they're up the stairs.
Right.
And do you ever hear Sambo McNaughton? No, they're hurling for Antrim.
No, I see. In Tyrone, we don't have that much hurling.
I know.
It's all Gaelic there.
True.
Yeah, we didn't.
We're a couple of good hurlers, but anyway, so Cushendall, you should do one of your retreats there, actually.
Oh, really?
Oh, unbelievable.
I know. I have to test a few places now. I'm testing a few places before I leave for when I come back and like booking them for next year.
Yeah.
So I'll check it out. And you guys check it out too.
Yeah. Hit the McNaughtons up and they'll look after you. But yeah, thanks very much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. And they're always looking to give back to our community. And it's absolutely wonderful what you do for everybody and giving back. So yeah, thank you. But how's life, Sinead?
Life is very good at the moment. Just living in Belfast, living it up and just enjoying my time as well. Nice to get out and about again.
Yeah, and you like I've been following your sort of journey or your life for the last probably 4 years on social media, on Instagram, and I suppose there is a lot of my followers probably aren't up to date on Instagram and stuff like that, you know. So tell me a little bit more about you, how you sort of got the big following that you got, how it started off, and what was it like for you?
I think similar to you as well, like hearing your story is there's always this notion of like the strong, confident people, and nobody knows like what people went through. And I always say mountains aren't made without a shake of the earth, without an earthquake. And I always say if you see a strong, confident person, you have to really challenge yourself and say, what darkness did they overcome? Because I feel like everyone has their period of darkness, especially if you're someone who's shouting for mental health or in this industry that we're in. It's because we were that person. And that was me. So I think my journey started, okay, what year is it? 2022. That's a long time. I think it started and like I feel like I don't remember before 2018. So it was like 2017, 2018.
It was just you started off like doing cuts and stuff, didn't you? Like training and Instagram.
Yeah, so I did fitness at the beginning, and then how I got a following was at the start when like me and my boyfriend at the time were like couple goals. Right. So cringe now because you wouldn't do that now. Like you wouldn't like couple goals, but we did like couple goals and like. We trained a lot, blah, blah, blah. So we got following that. And I was very informative of everything. So anything that I was doing, it was very informative. And even when I was traveling and stuff, you know, how much everything was and just being very transparent. And I think that's what people wanted to see and hear in social media, because if you're only talking about something and then you're going away for weeks, months at a time, like people are not going to keep up to date. So like I think being really informative and knowing that I was helping people with that informative stuff. But then I moved away from the fitness because, you know, I had my own body issues and I felt like it was triggering me to have to be this certain look and look this certain way. And I just felt like it was better for my mental health to stay away from it. And because I felt like I wasn't there to tell people to change their bodies, I was there to, and then what I realized is that I loved the most was I loved people helping themselves be better. So it wasn't never about their body. So I needed to accept my body before anything. So I was like, I stepped away from all that and like moved into like reading, self-development, meditation, books. And, you know, it all came from me being in my dark place at the time as well, which I'm sure you understand as well, like when you're in that dark place. And like, I don't know if you were in that dark, when you were in your dark place, like, was there things that helped you and pulled you out?
Drugs, probably.
No, but that's how you deal with it. No, that's your.
I was escaping reality, right? So I was in this dark place. and I was probably only existing. I was only floating along. Didn't really have a purpose to life, and by me like taking drugs and doing things, I was actually escaping what was actually really going on inside me. Right, so I was like somewhere else, which was great. Right, and then it got to the stage where I was dependent on it, and then I became a cocaine addict and an alcoholic, and it was just took over my whole life. Ended up in the streets, and it was just tragic. It was terrible, but jumping on planes, going different places, but the problems we're always there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm sure you were the same, but like how dark was dark for you? Like how did you really feel inside? And I'm only asking you because I see it a lot with young females, males too, but young females especially, putting stuff up on Instagram flat out, pretending, not, I don't know if they pretend that, but it looks like they're putting on a perception of themselves. They make other people nearly happy, or to look for validation of other people. And it genuinely worries the life out of me. It does.
Oh, yeah.
And did you ever feel like is that why you got away from it? Because you felt like you were getting caught up on that side of it? Or
I definitely feel like there was a massive amount of fakeness because there was so much pressure on like my industry. I felt like all these other people that were in the same position as me, it didn't even look like they had fucking jobs. Like they just looked like they were living life. So I was working in a bar, but I never showed that I was working in a bar. And then there was a point where I was like really, really low. And like, I think one of the lowest points was I just didn't want to get up in the morning. And like when I got out of bed and I would walk to work, I would just feel like I didn't want to be on earth. So, and all the things that pulled me out and like kept me going each day was like motivational videos on YouTube, random pages and books, like listening to random podcasts or random people. At the time, we didn't really have podcasts, so it was more YouTubes. So I would type in like motivational, like these things would like keep me on the earth at that point. So it was like very, very low. And when I said to myself, because first I was in denial. You don't fucking know. You're just thinking you're having the crack. You're partying. You're having fun. You're putting up loads of pictures and videos, and you're in complete denial. And then one day I just couldn't go to work. The tears wouldn't turn off, and I also was having really bad insomnia. Like never really slept. And then I was so tired. It was just like this massive amount of pressure on top of me. I didn't sleep. And then when I was tired all day, and then I would go to bed and I'd be wide awake. And then I would wake up in the middle of the night. There was just my nervous system was completely shot. Everything was on top of me. And yeah, like I just feel like that dark place. I'm trying to think now what your original question was.
Just hard.
Okay, because people fake it. Oh, yeah. Once I admitted it, I remember ringing my friend once, and it was the first, because obviously it was happening when I was in Australia, and everyone was like, oh my God, I want to go to Australia like Sinead and blah, 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 and everyone was following this journey, but I was in a really dark place, but I felt like I had to do it for my followers, and to be honest, they kept me alive too, because they were like, go you, because I'd just broken up with my boyfriend, I'd just been cheated on, like, it was kind of like girl power, like, go for you, so I felt like I had to keep going. But then once I went out of denial and accepted it, and I rang a friend and I just broke down, and I goes, I'm not okay, like I'm really, really not okay, and I don't feel like I want to be on this earth, blah, blah, blah. And that is when everything changed, because I came on and was like really authentic and real, being like, hey guys, I'm really struggling and I need help. So at that time, like therapy and stuff wasn't really a thing. Yeah, it wasn't really a thing. So I kind of just self-therapied myself with books and stuff. And I feel like, geez, if I had therapy, I would have got over it a lot quicker than like the year it took me. But yeah, I definitely feel like there is this. See, do you know what I'll say about that is, because when I do like a self-love meditation with people, and they're like, I can't accept giving myself that love. And I say to them, can you say these words? I love you. And I'm proud of you to yourself. And the harder that is for you, it means you look for it in other places. You look for it in relationships. You look for it in cocaine. You look for it in alcohol. So if you don't love yourself, you need something else to validate you. So you were doing it with drugs and alcohol. People do it with relationships. People do it with getting attention from Instagram, from getting it from opposite sex, like going out. And just getting it from friends, people, peers. Social media as well really fuels that, because if you're getting all these likes and you're getting all these attention, you don't have to love yourself because everyone else loves you. But the thing about that is it's so unstable, because people come and go all the time and their validation won't last, and the only validation you have is yourself. And that's when you need to work on. If you can't say I love you and I'm proud of you to yourself, that's when you got to start working on it. It's not fucking easy.
No, and I know exactly what you're saying. It's like the hardest thing ever, because even whenever I went in the Cumorah in the Concilios, and there's a famous line by Sister Concilio saying like, "I'm good, I was always good, God made me good." You know, it is a quite religious place and people have their own beliefs or whatever, but the concept of it was to be able to be comfortable in your own skin and to be able to actually sit with your own feelings. And I don't think that's something that people do. It's something that I definitely didn't do, being able to sit like this, where we are now. Like, just if this was 3 years ago, we're sitting having this conversation, I wouldn't be sitting on this sofa, if you know what I mean. My head would be somewhere else. I'll be thinking about where could I go next, or who could I get money off, or whatever. So actually just being in the present, being comfortable in your own skin, and not really worrying what other people think about you, is a hard thing to do and a hard thing to work on, what you've done. But how does it make you feel after going through all that and actually come on the other side of it and being comfortable and being able to say, like, do you know what, Sinead, look in the mirror and go, I love myself, like, and be proud of it.
It's hard. Even when you say that, you're like, oh, you just want to cringe, I love myself. But it's because, like, as well, we grew up, like, I always remember, you know, people always saying, stop loving yourself, or they would always call me big-headed as a kid. Like, you know, like I would always get up and sing and dance, and then I really made myself smaller, but because, you know, loving yourself wasn't normal and it was seen as a bad thing to love yourself. But I still think it is a long process to go and say, like, I remember I read a book and it's called Love Yourself, and it told me to tell me I love myself 40 times in the mirror and look myself dead in the eye all day long. Like, and I was like it was so uncomfortable, but at the same time, it really taught my brain, and like it almost fixed it into believing that I love myself. And then I had to do the work. So I think shame plays a massive, massive part of loving yourself. So people think, oh, you do these affirmations and you love yourself, but you have to dive into your own shame, which is the shadow work, as what people would say. And I would say shame is literally the blocking of the arteries of self-love. Because if you feel shame about something, you cannot love yourself. So how can someone love you if you feel ashamed to be you? And when you look back at the things that make you feel shame, sometimes they're so small, but they've made you feel shame. So it can be something like, let's just say, I always say this, right? I stole a keyring from Mr. G's. You know, like years ago, and it made me feel like a bad person at the time. So I lived with, like, this is such a small part of shame, but like, let's just say I'd say I stole, right? And then if someone calls you a bad person, you believe that because you did bad things. But just because you did bad things doesn't mean you're a bad person. So if you dive deep into why you've done things wrong, for example, I stole that keyring because my friends were all stealing keyrings, and I needed to be liked and accepted because I didn't like and accept myself. So to be liked and accepted, I did a bad thing.
How old were you?
Okay, I was young, but I've still loads of things now. Like, I'm
asking you that question because, like, that's a trait, like a behavior trait, and I can actually relate with you because them traits of behavior, right? Okay, I stole a key ring to try and fit in with my mates, basically, because they were all doing it. Probably started off so young, but developed the whole way through up until your early teenage years, where you're probably not you. I'm not, but I'm talking generally. But there's so many things. Still have that same trait of, like, right, I'll take a line of coke because my mates are doing it to fit in, or I'll 100%. Do whatever. Do you know? And it's still that. It's like a society thing, isn't it? Just trying to do what other people are doing to make you feel. Yeah, but if you look at that behavior, if you actually examine it, like, even things like, say when I was younger, I used to flirt with other boys when I was in relationships. You know, that could seem as, I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a bitch, I'm such a bad person. But in fact, I wasn't feeling loved and validated by someone else. Yeah. I didn't love and validate myself. I needed other people to give me attention. I needed to be validated by my friends liking me. So you don't see yourself then as a bad person. You look at that behavior and you're like, I was just an insecure little girl who needed to be loved and didn't love herself. So when you dive into the things that make you feel shame, almost every reason you do it is because you don't love yourself and you don't accept yourself. So you need other things and other people to make you feel good. So then the shame almost melts away. Because you can do this in meditation, you start and you journal as well. You know, why did I do that? And every single fucking reason is usually because you're insecure and you don't love yourself. And you don't love yourself enough to give yourself that discipline to turn around and have a boundary and say, no, I don't want to steal that. No, I don't want to have the line of coke. No, I don't want to go out drinking tonight. And it took me a long time as well to get that no drinking or to be sober.
on nights out and stuff, because I was always the fun girl who was always out, and I had massive validation and worth on people thinking I was a fun party girl.
Yeah.
So I had to give this person, I even remember buzzing and being like, oh, I need to take photos that I'm out. But I didn't know what I was doing back then. I thought I just wanted photos of, like, you know, there'd be blackberries.
Yes.
There'd be blackberries taking photos. And I would have photos of on Facebook every day, and I'd be like, I can't believe you're out again. People would write under it, and I'd be like, the dopamine that would rush through me. Did I want to go out? No, my fucking liver I was on a drip once. Like, Jesus, what am I doing? But
I have a few numbers if you need them.
No. I literally, like, I just needed to be validated by other people's opinions of me. But then once you love yourself and do all that work, you don't need anyone's opinion. Yeah, it helps. It's nice when people like you, but you don't rely on it. And you don't need it. So you don't chase all these things.
That's probably probably still my biggest weakness is validation.
Oh, yeah.
Until today, but it's not as bad as it was, and you're working on it, and it gets to the stage where some days you're like, whatever. But there is times where you go, like, I wonder, do they think that whatever. Oh,
but that's natural. It's human nature for people to like you, and I'm the exact same. Like, it's not an easy process, but you want people to like you, but you don't depend on it, and that's kind of where you want to be. You know, because I think you're always going to care what people think.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes when you get a negative comment, you're like, but like, you just have to take it with a pinch of salt sometimes and realize that this is me and this is what is my journey. So for you to judge me, that's your problem. And
you mentioned meditation there, and you mentioned journaling. And if someone had said to me 3.5 years ago that don't know that you're going to have to go and meditate and journal and write down how you're actually feeling in a book every day, and I genuinely, and I know a lot of my mates would probably look at me as if I have 10 heads, knowing that I would write down my feelings, and I tell people to do it, anyone I'm working with, and when they do it, they're like, this is amazing. When did you first start? By the way, you tell me about your meditation. I find this very interesting. First
of all, we have to say that you have to make a promise right here, right now, that you're going to do the meditation course.
I will do the meditation course.
And then we'll see what your validation is like then after we'll re-examine.
I definitely will. But I was first introduced to meditation in Concilios, where we had to get up every morning, 6 o'clock, go in and sit for 40 minutes and meditate. Like,
were you taught how to meditate?
Bits and pieces, but it was like, they nearly like threw you into like a wee chapel, and you're sitting there, and you picture this, right? 30 men, just off the drink, off drugs, and made to sit in the room.
Oh my God.
Like, people's hands are going, they're shaking, everything's just madness. You know, you're hitting your head against the wall, basically. But it took me probably 3 or 4 weeks. I was there for 12 weeks, so 3 or 4 weeks to actually be comfortable and to get into that meditation. And I reckon if I didn't do it then, my day wouldn't have been the same. Do you know what I mean? I really feel it had that much of an impact on me. Now, of course, when you get out and you lose a run of it and stuff like that, then you don't.
Well, 40 minutes is a lot of time.
It is a lot of time, but you've 24 hours a day, and they're like doing a very little. So, but it was very, very interesting, and the journaling side of it was very interesting, and it's something that I still do now, and I do advise a lot of people to continue to do it. But tell me about the Brave Way and how that all came about, and I just think it's so fascinating what you do.
So I've been meditating for about 4 years now, and the reason why I started it is because, to be honest, like, because I was so into self-development, and you're reading like Tribe of Mentors, right? You're listening to all these mentors, massive CEOs, and they ask them all the same question, like, what's your habits? They're like, meditate for an hour a day, meditate for this many times. And I was like, okay, I can't stop ignoring it. And I was still going through my own stuff, but I felt like I was getting better. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to start meditating. And it was mad what the difference it had on me. And I'm not saying it happens in a week, like, you know, a few months later. Like, there was like 6 months later when I'd been meditating regularly, and I was like, oh my God, I sleep every night for 8 hours. And I don't even think about it. Whereas I used to sleep for like 3 hours, for really hard hours, like, that were like not even sleep. And the first thing is, once you get your sleep quality so good, everything starts to get so much better. And there's so many different benefits to it. Like, you've got your creative side. So there's 2 parts of your brain, you know, left and right. One of them is your computer, which is your past, your future. It keeps us really smart, keeps us sharp, but also that other side of the brain, that right brain, is all about creative flow. And you really mesh those 2 parts of the brain together. And it's not like years ago we didn't have the neuroscience. We have the neuroscience now of all the research on meditation. So you've got meditators, and they clearly have enlarged corpus callosum. So it's basically the thing down the middle of your brain that merges these two things together. So you can use these parts of the brain and mesh these two together. So that part of your brain with creativity keeps you present, keeps you in the now. And then the other one keeps you, smart. It's your computer, basically. So if you mesh those two together, not only are you becoming more creative, but you're becoming more yourself. So when you're meditating, people think they're just meditating and they're like, yeah, this is nice and you're present, blah, blah, blah. But your true self really comes in. So you'll notice when people start meditating, they have all these ideas here and there, everywhere, in the shower. They might not have them in that moment, but they have them later on, because you're meshing these two brains together. You're getting away from your conditioned patterns. Because when you sit down, and the way I teach meditation is, like you were probably taught this as well, is that you're not your thoughts. So you have to pick and choose your thoughts. Like you pick and choose your clothes in the morning, and you pick what chooses you, and you become in control of your thoughts rather than they control you. So if you get thoughts like, I am not enough, I feel like shit, I'm not good enough for this, you can sit in meditation and you can take those thoughts and then you just go ping, you put them away and you watch them flow on by, and then you come back to your breath and you realize that you're not those thoughts and you are in control. And it also allows you to have this massive pause in your reactions. So a lot of people will regret things they say to partners, to friends, to family, because their emotions are so heightened and they're so turned on. But when you meditate, you can watch your thoughts come in and watch your triggers come in. So if, for example, like I watch my old conditioned patterns of being cheated on come in, say Jack's out all night, I would be like, oh my God, like I could see my thoughts going, oh my God, he's cheating on me, he's doing this. But instead I can sit back and watch those thoughts and go, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to heal. And you can see that this is from a conditioned pattern where I was hurt before. My brain is trying to protect me. And you have this thing we call the pause. So you just pause right before you react. Because if he comes in the door and I go, where the fuck were you? What were you doing? I'm not treating him with compassion. I'm treating him with suspicion. And what happens then? Oh, fucking hell, she thinks I'm doing it anyway. May as well fucking do it. Yeah. So how you treat that person could affect your relationship. So there's this massive pause. You become a better partner, better friend, better mom, dad, because you're more patient. I mean, like we could talk about this forever. Like we talk about how many benefits there is of meditation. But in terms of the brave way.
Your brave way.
Okay,
yes.
So in terms of the brave way, so we work it on. The thing is about meditation is I was always yearning on about it, but no one knew how to start it. How do I start? There was no structured courses. There was no, and people would be like, oh, Sinead, I tried it. And sure, my brain can't shut off. And that's not what it's about. It's about, your thoughts are always going to be there. So your brain thinks just like your heart beats involuntarily. So when people are telling you to quieten your mind, that's not how it works. And I wish I could get that person and tell them how to meditate, because it's not how it works and it puts people off.
It's very daunting. It can be very...
and like people close their... The first time I went to meditate, I'll never forget it. I wanted to fucking scratch my balls out because I was like, get me out of here. And you'll notice that if you can't be with yourself, then it's time to begin to learn. And when you get to that point, which could take weeks, months, where you're still and you're like, this is actually nice in here. It's not that bad in here. You're like, it doesn't matter what happens in the outside world. You can close your eyes and everything can be all right. And there's just something so magical about that. So then I decided to have like a structured course on visualization, manifestation, and self-belief, because you can manifest all you want. Like you can visualize everything that you want in your life. But if I ask you, like, let's just say you want to be a billionaire, right? And you're like, okay, I'm going to manifest being a billionaire. Do you deserve to be a billionaire? Do you feel like that?
They deserve to be a billionaire?
Yeah.
That's fine. But
when you look at your things that you feel shame for, you've got all those things and all the things people have said to you in your past, those things really affect your visualizations and how you go forward, because you don't really believe it.
Yeah, because you still have the big stick and beating yourself up.
Yeah, so you can't visualize, you can't manifest what you want, and you can't go for what you want if you don't believe you deserve it. The universe only gives you what you think you deserve.
Yeah.
So we work on that. We work on self-belief, and we work on, inner child stuff and removing blocks. And when they come up, because people are like, oh, Sinead, I can't do the self-love. And then we talk about it, you can't do self-love, then we need to work on that, because that's where you're at a standstill when you need to work on how to love yourself. So yeah, it's more like a structured course, and it's for 21 days, and it gets people in the habit, and our feedback's been so amazing. Like I'm so like happy that I did it and like stuck to my guns. And
class.
yeah,
I think it's amazing. And we do have an awful lot in common in terms of how we think and the processes. You've been on one journey and I've been on a different sort of journey. But in terms of that course and stuff, it does sound like a lot like what the way QMR is. Only their program was wrote like 100 years ago by a nun. But there is different subjects about like healing hurts of the past and unconditional love.
I love this. Can I go there?
No, literally. Like
you were like 40 minutes a day. It sounds like a retreat.
Like no, it's like no, that's only the meditation part. So you stay there for 3 months,
right?
But you also did like a silent retreat as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
But Cure is it's very much like that, and obviously it's just people getting off their addictions. But I like the more you're talking about this, and like everyone has these problems, not just people that's caught up in addiction. And I would advise anybody to jump on, male or female, to watch Sinead saying there, because like I'm definitely going to do it 100% because I do find it so fascinating. But yes, you did. I was listening to one of your podcasts and you went to like a silent retreat meditation place. What was that?
Well, I was doing teacher training there, but you know what? It's so funny because at the time I felt like prison. Right. But when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, the peace and quiet. Like, I can't wait to do that again. And even in my retreats, I've brought in silent days. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry that you don't know about it yet, but it's happening. Because it's tough, but I think once you're able to do something like that, you're so proud of yourself. You're literally in your higher self because you're putting yourself down to sit down and be quiet. We did 4 days silence, so it wasn't a month, but we did every morning. And we meditated for 3 hours every day. And then at the very end, we did 4 days silence and 8 hours a day.
Right.
Which sounds hectic, but actually was really lovely. I was like, at the end of it, I was like, I really have, conquered my mind. And I just felt like I could overcome things and things that came up. And, there's a lot of emotions. And sometimes you would think about, things that made you really sad. And you just had to cry. So many people cried and like released emotions. And sometimes we forget to deal with our emotions and then they're just going to be trapped. So then when you do sit down, you do have this emotional detox, and people be really worried about that. When they first start meditating, they're like, oh my God, Sinead, like I can't stop crying. Like, is this normal? I'm like, no, this is good, because you need to release all the stress that you've been holding in your body, and crying is a way to do it. So it was very interesting. It was a lot. It was very outdated stuff as well. Yes. And it was hard for me as a meditation teacher to be taught how to meditate whenever I was like, if you do it this way, this will teach people better. Because they were like, I was learning from Vedas and Tantra. There was a lot of different things that I couldn't teach people because it's so outdated. If I tell them to do a mantra, like I kind of,
we used to actually do that. Maranatha.
Did you do it too? No, I've got them long. They give me this mantra, right? And it was so long. And I was like, how the fuck am I going to say this? And we weren't leaving until we said it. But it does calm down the mind. It does, yeah. But you can't go around. You have to modernize it for people, because you can't turn them around and be like, hey, this means this. So if you give them a nice mantra, and it's a good way to train your mind as well. Because if you keep concentrating on the mantra and the thoughts come in, I like to call it like a mantra party, and you're the host. So when your thoughts come in, you're the host. You can say, okay, there's a thought coming in about yesterday's dinner. I'm just going to put that away and come back to the mantra. And then sometimes, like, your thought takes over you and you have to go, oh no, okay, back to the mantra. So it's the same as the breath. Yeah. So it's good. We just need to modernize. Did you have a long mantra and you had to just say it over and over in your meditation?
Yeah, it was madness. But it was fun. No, like I was going to say I would advise anyone to go to QMR, but please don't get to that stage. But like I would love to bring it where I could like take people for even a weekend and just show them and like, because it does open your eyes to life. Because a lot of people are in a massive rat race and it's just like dog eat dog and it's just like complete madness. And like it's very hard for us to be in the positions we're in to go over to someone and say, here, listen, just like listen to me for 2 seconds. Like, I think I could help you a wee bit, because it would be like, mate, do me a favour and go away because you're not waste. Do you know? Yeah. Because like people trying to do something to themselves and try to like self-develop and try to like build their relationship with themselves and love themselves. In our society, people think we're not waste. Yeah, and you're a male, so you probably get it way worse than what I get at. I do. Like even my mates, like, I'm serious. Yeah. And like it has took a lot for me to do what I'm doing. And sometimes, like Anya was saying to me about doing like what do you call it, like selfie videos on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know why you're sitting doing that all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I was sitting here for an hour trying to do that yesterday because I'm just I'm not used to it, and I'll be genuinely like afraid of like taking a video of myself. But I think getting out there and trying to normalize them things more and more and more, especially for males, because we don't speak, like we don't, and it is scary. But like just trying to self-develop, all of us would make the world.
But if you want to, because when you're doing that selfie video, you're judging yourself, but you're not. But you have to look back at where you find that judgment. Because somebody you were in a group of friends somewhere, and they were probably chatting about someone who's chatting on their story, and going, "Look at this boy," or "Look at this girl."
Probably.
And that internalized you. So it's not that it's
or she loves herself.
It's not that it's embarrassing. It's because you internalize something that somebody said. Like we were chatting about the last day with my friend Kegs, and I was chatting about, like getting a photo in front of people.
Yeah,
I find that very difficult to take photos from people. I could never be a fashion blogger because I could never stand up in front of people to take photos. And when I look at myself, I'm judging myself and I judged others. Say if someone was taking a photo, I'd be like, oh, but that's because when I think about where that came from, it's because I would be in a group somewhere and someone would take a photo and be like, oh, look at her loving herself. She's just doing her fucking job.
So it's like a champ in your name saying,
yeah, bang. I internalized that and thought that's embarrassing when it's absolutely not embarrassing. That's how people pay bills these days. So, it needs to be more, normalized. And once you start doing it, if I start doing it, then someone else starts doing it and starts being their true authentic self, people are going to come up against judgment anyway. So they're going to judge you whether you do everything or you do nothing. I always say this, right? Whenever me and Jack went to a wedding, me and him, the first time we went, we weren't matching. And we got abuse, not abuse, but like we got negative comments saying, "Oh my God, didn't even match and all." Like
your dress code.
Now imagine this, and I was like, "Right, okay."
Is this people on social media?
Yeah, and then the next one, me and Jack matched, and they were like, "Oh my God, so cringe, you matched." So it doesn't matter what you do, so you may as well be being your true, authentic self.
Yeah.
So I'm going to challenge you to speak on your story.
Yeah, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And I actually said this to Mick Conlon last week about doing well for yourself. Like whenever. Like you actually go and do well, like people want you to do well, and then when you do well, they're like, "I'm not like want to talk about you and put you back down again." Do you know?
Yeah, especially because if you've been a certain person, like for me as well, like I was always pissed out when I was younger, and people will still say, "Oh, well, look the way like that's a pile of shite, that's fake," and I'm like, "Look, if I want to be fake and I want to make money, I make money in a very different way than sitting up and chatting about my feelings."
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So the people that are not. Who haven't changed don't believe in change because they've never changed.
Yeah.
So if you ask me about the person that I was 5 years ago, that person doesn't exist because I fucking haven't a clue. I don't even know what she thought. I don't even know what she like. There's
no connection with her.
Yeah, there's no connection with her. Like it's so weird. So I think, and you're a male, so there has to even on my Brave Way we have males as well, and there's such a small amount of them, but like it takes them so much to come in and comment, and when they comment it's so nice, and I'm like we need more males brave in the way, because see when someone comes up to you, I'm sure you've had messages from people that have been like, you know what, like that really helped me,
and that's why I do this. Like I was full-time selling cars and I'm part-time, but the energy that this gives me, like going and talking to people and meeting people, like a lot of the work that I do isn't publicized because you're working one-to-one with people and stuff like that, which is fine. But the amount of energy that actually gives me, Sinead, like to see a kid that was in the shoes that I was in actually develop to go on, maybe even if they're off the drink or off drugs a day, like sometimes that's a massive achievement. But even to go on and get a job or go back to school and do things, like the energy that gives me, and then for them kids to come back around and say to me, or older fellas, like come back and say to me, like, do you know what, you actually had a real impact on my life, like heart, that makes me feel amazing, but it also helps my recovery too.
Oh, definitely.
So that's why I do what I do, and I suppose like.
But if you look at it like that, every time you look into that camera, you're looking to that person. That's what I always think. I always, like, even if I'm feeling like, say if I'm getting a massive, like a negative attack or something's happening, like I'll just go into my DMs and I'll just read some messages. I'll read even like at the retreat.
Once a day.
Yeah. Like I just go in and because he was like, I only answer my messages once a day. Like I would take over my life on the treadmill every day. I was like, sorry, shit, our podcast at 2:00. And that's a boundary for me. I can't just keep checking them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, keep doing that, because if you have that in mind, and it was the people chatting on like podcasts and YouTube videos that kept me on this earth. So I think you're talking to you. years ago.
Yeah.
And you're an expert of experience. And there's a big difference in someone chatting to a psychologist who has loads and loads of amazing, like, you know, qualifications. But sometimes speaking to someone who's been there and who's got through it is so impactful.
Yeah.
And it's, you know what I mean?
And it is part of the reason why I do what I do too, because like I spent loads of times going to counsellors and doctors and stuff like that, and I was just like ticking a box and going like, oh, whatever. But whenever like another alcoholic is coming to me, mate, I know what a liar is, I know what a manipulator is. Don't try and get me here. Tell me the truth, you know. And I think that all of a sudden then you have a relationship because like, right, this fella's actually been here. But talk to me about your, now correct me if I'm wrong here, your tranquility rings. Is that right?
You can probably hear them twiddling.
Yeah, I think this all comes, the background of this is all to do with anxiety, is that right? And something that is just, it's everywhere with everybody in our society, and I think it is very worrying. But talk to me about, obviously you've had your own personal experiences with anxiety, and tell me how this all came about with wearing rings. And
well, tranquility rings, like, it's kind of like a business thing that, you know, I've always had opportunities through business, through social media, but whenever this came to me, this business, I was like, this sounds like a bit of me. And, you know, but starting a business as well is very difficult, especially with physical products. It can be, because I'm so used to everything being online. So having to set out, and like, everything was so difficult at the beginning. But it aligned with me so much out of all the things that came forward to me.
Why?
Because it was got to do with mindfulness.
Right.
And so I had the rings for about a year, and I trialed them and stuff for about a year, and I still was like, so it's so nerve-wracking as well to put your name on something, to have 25% of I have 25% of the business. So it's like, it is nerve-wracking as well, because you don't know this person who's coming at you with like your business. My business partner was just someone from England, and he came out with an idea, and I was like, I don't know. And then like I tried so many rings, and some of them I didn't like, some of them I liked. But anyway, when I wore them, I picked my hair and I picked my skin. And when I wear the rings, I just play with the rings.
So the rings are like, for anyone who isn't watching and is listening, so many rings do you have on your finger?
I know, yeah, I have 5. So and that's
5 rings out of 10 fingers, say, and like they're these wee rings, and they are, you can hear them whenever Sinead moves her hand, and but they have like a ring within the ring. Is that right?
So it's just like they just all move in some way, shape, or form.
So anyone who is like fidgety or, you know, on edge, and they can sit and play with these. Is this the one?
And you'll notice how much you play with it whenever you're in certain situations like this, like Zoom calls, like gynecologists. Like that's when this gets swung the most. When you're getting your fucking laser, definitely, like you're just always swinging. And it's just, you know, it's just to release anxiety, because a lot of people will pick their eyelashes, bite their nails, anything that has any sort of nervous tick about it. Then you've got the ring there to ground you and like make you present, and you can touch it and you just become really present. And when it came about, I was like, I mean, we have to jump on it. It just became a massive success. So we're still working on it now. Like, it's such a small business. There's only like me and my business partner. And then we bring like a few other people in from my team. And yeah, we're so over our head, but we're in it.
That's class.
Yeah, it's
really
exciting.
It's fascinating. I think you have to get a meal thing for wristbands or something, maybe.
Yeah, we have meal ones as well. We have one meal one. Yeah.
I don't think I would wear a ring though. It's the only thing.
Yeah, but you think that? It's only because no one else wears a ring.
No, that's nothing to do with anything else. I just wouldn't wear. But no, that is fascinating. And you call this company
Tranquility,
and you can find that on your Instagram and stuff like that. Anyway.
Yeah, there's an Instagram Tranquility as well. Yeah,
class. The other thing that I was doing a wee bit of research on you and looked you up, and with everything that's going on now, I suppose, and with that show that's on ITV2.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Did not know what you were going to say there.
I could go to the other places, but we'll go there first. With ITV2, Love Island, it's on at the minute. You actually have first-hand experience of Love Island. Tell me more about that.
This was, I think I was 23, so I'm 29 now, so that fucking hell, it's ages ago. What the fuck? So yeah, I think they approached me. they originally approached me for Big Brother, which is so random, and then they just I know that's so random, isn't it? Then they just swapped me over into Love Island. Love Island wasn't really a big thing then. I think it was only like season. I'm actually not going to say the season because you're not allowed to watch it. You're not allowed to watch it. I saw my therapist like to watch it. You'll bring back your traumaticness. So they approached me, and then they were like, "You're going in the first week, blah blah blah," and you're like, when you're a young girl and you're living off validation, like this is fucking feels good. So you're like, hell yeah, oh my God, this is amazing. Anyway, so it came up to it. I did the dry run, which is like a week and a half where you're in there and you do all the stuff that they do, but it's just not televised. It's for the producers to make sure they can manipulate people and work upon it. And so we just did everything like that. So I feel like that was my best experience for everyone to understand what's going on now, because I know what happens with the producers and I know what happens when, you know, they're trying to manipulate things. But the thing is, people are like, it's scripted. And I'm like, look, it's not scripted, but they do pull shit out of you.
Does it make you feel uncomfortable?
Then no, like it didn't make me, like I knew what I was doing when I was in there. They would say, look, you're with Andrew or whatever, and the other guy really likes you. We think you suit it better. Like you need to go have a chat with him, and he'd be coupled up with someone. You know what you have to do. Like you know you have to go over there and have that chat. But you know you do fancy him. Like you know they're all good looking people in there. Like they want you to explore, and you explore and you do everything. But I think like what then it came that I had to go in, and it was like it was one of the last weeks, and I was like, I'm not going in the very last week. Don't even fancy any of the guys that are single. It's not even interesting me, and which was annoying because they had told me from day one as well. So you give up your apartment, you give up your job. You're like I was in Spain, I think, at this then waiting, and then I was like, what the fuck? I can't be arsed going in. But anyway, they get someone to talk to you, and you go in, and then I went in for all of 2 minutes with subtitles, and probably even got like 15 seconds. So it wasn't like it was a lot. And then afterwards, you know, they tell you you're going in just by yourself as well. So I went in with 4 people, and I knew the people that I was going in with because we'd done a dry run together. And, you know, these girls are top-notch girls, like banging bods. Like, you know, I kind of knew that I wasn't getting picked, but I knew that this could be an opportunity. I don't know. I don't even know. I just went in. And then...
I think every girl, by the way, would try this if they were given the opportunity.
Oh, 100%. And like, to be fair, I'm so glad that I did. I don't even remember being in there. I obviously took some sort of internal panic attack, like the panic attacks take on stage. But I think that protected me because I feel like after that was when I had my breakdown after that. So can you imagine if I had my breakdown in front of all those people? And, you know, I came out of Love Island, had all these followers, but I was so unaware of my own emotions, my own feelings. So I think going in there as well, like you're getting rejected in front of millions of people. And I never really dealt with that. So then I had to go and deal with it in therapy like years later because I felt like it was really stopping me from standing on stage because I felt so judged. Because at that moment I got judged on the way I looked, on the way I spoke in front of millions of people. And then you have to go out and everyone wants to chat to you about it, you know, like, because they've seen you and you're like, oh, I don't want to chat about it.
And did it make you self-conscious?
No, I don't think it made me self-conscious. Like, I think it was my own issues that I don't think I'd ever been able to deal with being in there and having that amount of followers at that time. I feel like I'm lucky because my followers came gradual.
Yeah.
So I was able to like deal with like little bits of negativity at the start and then like really panicking the first time you get the negativity. And then like another bit comes and then you start to just get used to it and you start to be able to understand it. And, you know, I had studied human behavior at this time. So I was so... like by the time it came to like negativity and stuff, I was well equipped for it and I understood why humans did that. Yeah. So back then, I just think I'm so glad that I didn't get in. I feel like everything worked out way better than it should have for me.
Yeah. And I suppose we're all given these journeys and cards for different reasons.
Fuck, it's interesting. I love watching it. Like
it is.
I'm so into it.
But you're so into it and I think everyone is so into it. Like I've watched it 1 or 2 times and I'm not a big into it, to be honest with you, because I do think it's fake. Like, if there's a young girl, I can think of my wee sister here, right? Whenever I'm asking you this question, she's going in the 2nd year, and I know she watches Love Island.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think you should be watching Love Island, but she watches it anyway. How different for you talking the young females here? How different is Love Island, the processes, the going and talking to people, the dating, the everything that comes with it? How different is that to actually real life dating for someone who has never actually got to this stage in their life where they're dating yet? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I think it's hard because everyone's really judged on the way they are. in Love Island. So good, like it's good. It's easy for me to watch it because I'm breaking down their behavior and I know exactly why they're doing the things that they do. But for an example, like there's one girl and she's like really hard to, she's not really showing her feelings as much. She's kind of like exploring, and that's typical avoidant attachment style. So an avoidant attachment style is usually comes down to something in your childhood or, even being really hurt in a past relationship. So you're very hard to like show love at the beginning because you're so afraid of getting hurt. So watching this girl explore options and not giving herself fully to someone there, for me, I look at it and think she's been hurt so bad. She doesn't want to be full head forward because it's so hard to get hurt. And people look at that and they judge that person and they're like a fucking bitch. Like she's chatting to other boys, blah, blah, blah. But like if you actually look at the deeper meaning of why these things happen, and that's what's missing in Love Island. Like I watch Love Island and I'm like, they need relationship counselling. Like they need relationship coaches in there being like, why didn't you say how you felt to this person? And like, there's a couple in there right now, Davide and what's her name? Ekansu. And she, at the start, he wasn't giving her love validation that she felt she needed because she loves in a different way than him. So she went and seeked it elsewhere and kissed somebody else. He was fucking raging. They broke up. Now they're kind of like getting back together and everyone's like, well, she went with someone else. And I'm like, yeah, it looks bad because she went with someone else, but she went with someone else because she wasn't feeling loved and validated. She didn't know how to express her emotions to him and tell him what she needs from him to feel good. And to protect herself, she just self-sabotaged and got with someone else because he was showing her attention. So I look at it like that. But if you look at it, if your little sister's watching that, she's probably thinking, bitch. And that's not the way it should be looked at. And nobody goes up for wee chats. They all shop and go on Tinder. No one comes up to you in real life.
Yeah, well, that's true. And
like, when is the last time you've ever gone up to a girl in real life? Or like...
I have, like, see, since I stopped drinking, like, I just got real confidence issues when it comes to stuff like that.
Really?
But that's for another
Oh, because you have to... Because you're being sober, so you have to go up to them sober.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's so difficult. Have you ever read that book, The Joy of Being Sober?
No.
I read that when I was sober for Lent. I do sober Lent, 40 days, 40 nights. And I was like, this is mental, going up to people and like, you fancy someone, but you can't get with them because you're drunk. It's very hard to process. But once I think you get over the initial first time.
Yeah.
Good challenge for you. Good challenge for you.
No, I'm all right. I'm quite happy the way. And you mentioned our relationships, and you talk about it a lot. You actually have a book.
Yes.
In relationships?
Yes.
Based around, tell me more about that.
I think that started because I'm a relationship coach. I don't coach anyone, to be honest, but I did my certification a few years ago, did another one then last year. And I'm just fascinated by relationships. I'm fascinated by, because myself as well had so many failed relationships, and then finally understanding why and understanding myself and being emotionally aware, I was like, oh my God, look at all these tools and this education on relationships that nobody fucking tells you about. Like, no one tells you that if you're having a bad time in a relationship that it can be fixed. Like if you're, you know what I mean? And so in lockdown, I think people are just like doing these anonymous confessions in a radio show about how much they want to leave their partner and how much they can't stand their ma in lockdown. And I was like, this is such a good opportunity to grow in relationships and to get to know someone and to navigate tools. So I was like, I'll just write a book of what I know. So I just wrote a book on what I knew, and I felt like it just came flowing out of me. I could write way more on it, I swear to God. But yeah, and then it went really well because a lot of people just became, and I'm talking about my story and like the things I felt as well, because I didn't love myself, so I needed someone else to love me. So when I broke up with someone, that's when I went through my dark place because I had no identity, because I was like, I'm not lovable unless somebody loves me. So I need someone to love me, but I couldn't love anyone else because it made me feel really sick because I was so sad about what had happened. So I think people knowing that is very important, that if you're in a relationship and you can't live without them, there's a problem there. Because a good, stable relationship with yourself and another person is, if we break up, yeah, it's going to be fucking sad, but I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And once you get to that part, that's when the relationship is not as needy and living in fear, because you're constantly living in fear when you're in a relationship if you depend on them, because you don't want to annoy them, because you don't want them to leave, so you're not showing your true self.
And then, so you have a boyfriend now. How long are you going out with each other?
Like a year, like almost 2, like we've been kissing like 2 years.
Right, to say 2 years.
But like we're together like a year and a half.
Officially,
right.
Yeah. We'll go over 2 years anyway. But so all this experience, right? And then you go and meet a new boy, but you have a book out. And you go like, I can imagine it's very scary for him coming and meeting someone like you, like, and that's not like an insult or anything.
Yeah.
It's because you publicize it so much. You have a book on it, like, what's his name? Jack. So he's coming in, meeting you. How do you approach this whole new relationship? No, I just find it very fascinating.
No, I know.
And there's other people out there who, like, even me, like, I do struggle with relationships and building trust again. And people have, like, problems with building trust with me again because I've hurt them in the past. Like, that is happening in my life now. But how do you approach that? Like, so you're going in, you have all this knowledge, and you've wore the t-shirt, and you sit down with him and say, right, we're going to be like a boyfriend, girlfriends, or whatever. Like, but this is what we're going to work on. And you do, like, I listen to some of your things. You have meetings and stuff, don't you?
Yeah, we have weekly meetings.
Yeah. So, like, because he's probably just like me, a lad with loads of mates who probably think, like,
typical Irish lad. Yeah.
Irish people, if they know what he's doing, they're probably going, Jack, mate, you're nuts.
Yeah.
But how did you change his mindset? Have you changed his mindset? How did you approach it with him? And is he comfortable with it?
He is so chill. Like, Jack is the fucking chillest person ever. Like, he just goes along with everything. Like, sometimes I don't even know if he knows what's going on half the time.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Do you know that he's just so open to everything? The thing is about Jack, he's so secure.
Like himself?
About just anything. Right, like a good example is like me going away for like 5 months, being like, hey babe, I'm going to go to like somewhere for like 5 months to Bali, and he's just like, and I'm like, are you not worried? And he's like, why would I be worried? You're my girlfriend. You know, it means something to him. So
I think that's a country thing.
I don't know, no, because I've been with a few country lads that wouldn't allow me to go anywhere. So, and that's their insecurities. You know what I mean? I think I'm very blessed with Jack because he is so secure. So and he's secure because he had a loving family. You know, he feels very loved and he's confident in himself. But I think he always says this, that the first few times the boys do give a wee bit of jip, but once it becomes a regular occurrence, they can only give so much jip. And if you say nothing back to them, they can't do anything more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like, and it's especially because Jack actually gets a lot of messages from guys saying thank you. And I get a lot of people coming up to me saying, like, listen to your podcast, you know, me and my partner are getting on so well since we started doing like things that you're doing, and thank you so much. So I think that really helps him as well, and he's became so comfortable. But I think I'm blessed because he just rolls with it. Yeah. And it helps him as well. You know, if we're having a weekly meeting and... What
does this weekly meeting... If you don't mind talking about it, what does it consist of?
You know, so we talk about it's like a thing called FANOS. Right. So it's like feeling, affirmation, need, ownership, and struggle. So you say one thing. It takes 10 minutes. And so
do you do this? Do you prepare for this meeting, or is this just off the cuff? Like, do you sit
let's do a wee FANOS. Like, let's do a quick FANOS, and it takes
but you don't sit and write it out before the
meeting. No.
Right, okay.
And like sometimes you don't really have much to say. You can just say, I'm feeling good about the relationship, or you can say, I'm feeling really insecure. Like, let's just say, you know, Jack's on a bulk. He's like, I feel a little bit insecure because I'm on a bulk, and like I feel a little bit heavier. And I'm like, babe, like, you don't look any different to me, like, blah, blah. And then I assure him, so he feels better in that moment. I could say, I feel like shit because, you know, I have pains because I've got a disease in my pelvis. So I'm like, oh, I feel shit that I like sometimes can't be the best girlfriend. And he'd be like, no, like, it doesn't bother me. So then we reassure each other in that moment. And then you've got affirmations. So like, for example, if Jack takes the bins out without me asking, I'd be like, you know what? I really enjoyed when you took the bins out. And he's like, did you? And then he'll do it again because he's affirmed.
But for you to notice them things too and be aware of that is...
Yeah, because sometimes he doesn't get acknowledgement for that moment, or I could say, oh, it was really nice when you got me a pack of chocolates in the shop, and then he'll do it again. So we like acknowledge it and then we affirm it, and then you do like a need. Jack's usually like a need me time, which he likes his me time. He likes his boys time. He likes his Xbox. You know, not so much anymore, but like I remember being like, oh, I just would like to watch my programs, and then that's good for me because sometimes I feel like I don't. Because even if he's up here, he's with me today. And I was like, oh, I have to work today. And he was like, and I started to panic a wee bit. Like, I didn't want to leave him. He's like, what do you mean? Gone ahead. Do you know what I mean? So I always think I need to be with him all the time for him to be entertained for some reason. So he's like, I need me time. And I was like, oh, I need me time. So then he gets what he wants and I get what I want. And I'm not offended by him saying he needs time alone. Yeah. Or he's not offended by me. And then ownership is like, let's just say ownership's like, you know what, I went out at the weekend and text you when I got home, like that was really shitty, I'm so sorry. And I'll say, I never did anything wrong, so I'm not taking ownership. No, joking. Or I'll be like, you know what, one day I really snapped at you for not making the bed, and like that was a wee bit out of order. I was just a wee bit annoyed that day.
And would you do things together?
Like snap? No, well, I'd say if I was like moody, I would be like, oh, I'm sorry that I was moody that day. It was my hormones or something else was annoying me. So just say sorry, basically. And there's nothing, you don't say anything. Yeah. And then struggle would be something you're struggling with. So I could say like, I'm really struggling with pain at the minute because it's like, you know, I'm in pain. And he'd be like, oh, like what can I do to make you feel better? And, you know, he could say, he's like, he always said, because I make more money than him and he's just finished uni, he'd be like, I'm struggling with money. So I'm like, you know what? Don't be taking me out for dates. Like if you want to take me to do something, like why don't we do something in the house and you make dinner? So then he doesn't feel the pressure to take me on a date.
That would probably make me feel uncomfortable.
What?
Not having as much money as you in a relationship. Yeah. That probably would. And I think it would make loads of people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it is like a male thing, isn't it?
Yeah, like I definitely think in the last relationships it was to be fair, I didn't have any money like when my past, but he's okay with it. Like he's probably the only boy I think could be grand with. I swear to God, he's so grand with it. But I do understand that sometimes it is a struggle for him and it doesn't work for us for me to pay for the things because
wouldn't sit well.
It fucks up the energy of us. Like I become really masculine and he becomes like demasculinated. So we try to keep it like even. But if I want to do something that's at my range, I pay for it. Do you know what I mean? And we structure it that way. But it definitely is a struggle in our relationship, and we have to work on that for sure.
It's so fascinating, and I could literally talk to you all day about this. But no, here, thanks very much.
No problem.
And it was very, very fascinating, and definitely get on to the Brave Way meditation course. Everybody, I'm going to go. And I'll actually I'm
going to sign up. I'll sign you up today.
Yeah, and I'll document it and stuff. And
you have to do it 21 days in a row. That's the hard part.
But I was in rehab for 90 days, so I think.
Yeah, but you don't have anything to do apart from being in rehab.
No, I'll do it 21 days in a row. Definitely. It's just a matter of getting up a half an hour earlier in the mornings, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only 15 minutes.
Well, there you are.
Yeah.
And I'll let you all know how I get on with that. But no, Sinead, I really appreciate you coming on, and best of luck with everything. And I think you're a role model to a lot of people out there, and keep doing what you're doing, because especially in today's world, girls need girls like you to look up to.
Thank you. I mean, we need you.
Yeah.
We need some male representations here in Ireland.
Join the club. But yeah, and thanks very much to the Derrick Inn and McNaughton Guest Rooms for sponsoring me for this podcast. Without having local businesses sponsoring and their support, then none of this would be possible. So it is greatly appreciated. And be sure to hit them up in their new guest rooms and go visit the beautiful Cushendall, where the Brave Way will maybe have their own wee retreat someday.
Well, can't wait to go and visit.
Enjoy the scenery.
You really sold it.
We get another few quid in it. But here, thanks very much, and I will see you all soon. Cheers.